about a half a lap away from going green here on the .357 mile speedway. A quick comment from you, Glenn Jarrett.
Well, conditions are optimum for a race today. However, with this racetrack being newly paved, it is not completely cured yet. There is a problem with the pavement coming up down in turns 1 and 2. We're going to keep a close watch on that. Steve Griffin had momentary heart stoppage there as the cars pulled out. His car stalled. He is back up front now, and we're getting ready to take the green flag.
The honorary starter is Rob Weigel of Carquest. He has the flag in hand. The green is out, and we are underway in the Carquest Auto Parts Stores 300.
Steve Grissom wastes little time in putting that number 31 car up front. He's put about 2 car lengths already on second place, Chuck Bound.
And the third position is Dave Resendiz. Fourth is Robert Presley. Fifth in the Speedway, Butch Miller. Sixth, Kenny Wallace. Seventh, Bobby Donner. Then it's Troy Beebe and the Jeff Burton machine. Pretty much as they qualified, as the field so far has sorted itself out cleanly here in the opening moments of this afternoon's contest.
Mark, I think one reason for that is everybody was extremely concerned about track conditions. As they went out to qualify, the track got extremely slick in the afternoon heat. With the cars were very loose getting into and coming off the corners. I think everybody's going to feel the track out for a while and kind of set themselves in just to see how much hotter the track has gotten and what it has done to the handling characteristics of each other's car.
In fact, the entire field is now pretty much single file, except way back in the field in the 20th position as Ed Barrier and Jack Ingham are side by side. But the battle up front really isn't one at the moment. It is Steve Grissom, who tested extensively here, is showing some of the benefits of that so far. A driver who is really in need of a victory this year after picking up 4 last season. Chuck Bound closing in on him. He is the defending race champion here. In the third position, Dave Resendiz. Fourth is still Robert Presley, as those lead 4 cars have begun to pull away just a little bit from the field.
Chuck Bound also tested here at South Boston with limited practice time today because of the potential for track problems and the fact that they didn't let the cars practice, Glenn, a lot of the time on the bottom of the racetrack, fearing that it would tear up quick enough in the race. They didn't let him practice there, so the guys who practiced here prior to this race certainly had some sort of edge.
Well, that's correct, Mark. You know, that's one of the most unusual things I've ever seen in a NASCAR Busch Grand National races. They took pylons and blocked off the lower lane during practice, just simply wouldn't let the cars down there because of the big concern about the asphalt tearing up in turns 1 and 2. I took the opportunity after practice to walk down there and take a look at the track myself. I think after 40, 50 laps, you're going to see a big major problem with the asphalt down in turns 1 and 2, and also 3 and 4, but it's worse in 1 and 2.
Steve Grissom is a driver who picked up a sponsor. A long sponsorship search came to a successful end at Darlington, but ever since then, he's had a share of difficulties having strong finishes, and he has his hands full right now with Chuck Bound, who has closed down his rear deck lid. That's the battle between Tom Peck in the 96 car and Ed Barrier. That is well back in the pack. Those were drivers who were trying to get in single file order. That's the battle for the 20th position on the speedway. Tom Peck is one driver who could use sponsorship, but meanwhile, back up front, we see that Steve Grissom is successfully holding off Chuck Bound, but the question is how much longer as Bound sticks his nose underneath.
Grissom could really use a good run today. He's finished 2 races in the top 10, but his last 4 races since he got the new sponsor, 18th, 37th, 28th, and 26th. He needs to make something happen today. Steve Grissom won 4 races last year, including the season finale at Marcusville. He came into the season on a high note and has really got off to a very frustrating start. And right now, he is just being pounded at the back door by Chuck Bound.
Yeah, Bound's putting a lot of pressure on him, and that's obvious. You're looking at some of the cars back in the pack. A car that's having some trouble right now. There's Robert Presley, car number 59. We've made note he'll come into camera pretty soon here. Car number 1, Jeff Gordon, who finished 2nd last week, has already fallen off the pace, and the leader, Steve Grissom, is moving up on him. Is going to put a lap on him very, very soon. Very disappointing start, I'm sure, for car number 1.
And moments ago, Robert Presley passed Dave Resendiz for the 3rd position on the speedway. We'll watch to see if he can close it anymore. An interesting note on this track is the absolute absence of any apron whatsoever. As you see, Jeff Gordon in the number 1 car, in the 28 is Mike Oliver, and you can see the spread now between cars that are about to be lapped and our race leader, Steve Grissom. And Glenn, there is really no apron here. What does that do about a driver's margin for error?
Well, it cuts it down by an extreme amount, Mark, because the cars, you could see them running right down on the bottom of the yellow line there. And we got a car going up a little high in turn number 1, but he's back in shape. But what that does is it eliminates any margin for error, and it also makes passing on this racetrack extremely tough. When you run on the very bottom of the racetrack like that, the groove is down there. The debris and grit and stuff gets pushed up in the middle of the racetrack, and when you have to pass a guy on the outside, it's extremely difficult to do.
And the car that had trouble was the 00 of Gary Neese. He spun in qualifying and was lucky to get into the field. They are now ready to encounter lap traffic. That is Mike Oliver, the Alabama driver. And this is something we'll be watching closely throughout this contest. This is short track racing at its best. We'll be back with more action from the Carquest Auto Parts Store 300 in a moment. We're back here at South Boston, and we're under yellow for the first time on lap 28 for a spin in the front stretch by Richard Lassiter, one of the rookie contenders. And here it is once again. You can see in the left corner of your screen coming off turn 4, Glenn just lost control.
Yeah, he just got in the marbles there a little bit, Mark, and the car just, the back end just came right around on him. That's a very a bad break for Lassiter, but a very good break for Jeff Gordon. As we commented, Steve Grissom, the leader, was just about to put a lap on him, and he was running right in front of that 05 car. So that did enable Gordon to stay in the same lap, and now he's pulled back up. He seemed to pick up the pace just a little bit, but he had the problems there, and now he's back in the lead lap.
Just before that caution flag, Robert Presley, we noted that there was some smoke coming out from underneath that Oldsmobile. He was black flagged, and they're on pit road now making some repairs to that race car. Bad break. He was running third, and now certainly has taken himself out of contention.
And we'll be going back to green flag action in one lap, and something that, Glenn, you mentioned before the broadcast, but please call attention to it right now. What happens on the Speedway when there are no lapped cars and how they get strung out?
Well, as we can see the overview now, you see the pace car is at the middle of the backstretch. The car that is at the back of the pack is just now coming off the 4th turn. So when the cars are strung out all the way around this racetrack, you are 2/3 to 3/4 of a lap behind already. There has been no lapping, so the cars have to stay single file. It gets you behind in a hurry.
And Jeff Gordon came on to pit road just moments ago for service as the green flag is back out with Steve Grissom in the lead. Second place is Chuck Bound. Third, Dave Resendiz. Then it's Kenny Wallace, Butch Miller, Bobby Donner, Troy Beebe having a good run so far, Jeff Burton, Jim Bound, Ed Ferree, Todd Bodine. Those are your top 10 cars.
Just prior to that caution flag, Chuck Bound had got together with the lap car of Mike Oliver, lost an awful lot of ground to Steve Grissom. It was hard to tell if Grissom had picked up a lot and was able to pull away from Bound, or if that lap car had just allowed Bound to drop back for a while and he was going to come on strong. So we'll get a better picture right now, Glenn, just what Chuck Bound has for Steve Grissom.
Well,
there's a spin down the backstretch. Mike Oliver, who was holding up the race leader, apparent contact between those two cars, and we are back under caution for the second time on lap 33. And that is not the first time that we've seen Mr. Oliver right around the race leaders.
Yeah, he was definitely in the way there, and Grissom gave him a little nudge to get him out of the way.
We'll be back with more action here where it's getting wild and woolly in South Boston, Virginia.